half of women.
Oh, you mean like
Yeah.
settling
Like-
for
like-
an
like-
average?
Yeah, like getting an average guy.
An
I
average.
think a lot
Nice
of
use
80% of
verbiage
women
there.
want 20% of the men. So if you ask 80% of women what they want in a guy, they list 20% of men. So the men that we want, there's just not enough to go around.
Yeah, they do this.
So,
Sorry.
so
My
we
bad.
always
settle all the time.
so we always talk about like never settle, but we just end up alone.
No, I think a lot of women settle. Maybe that's not obvious to people, but a lot of women are settling.
I think-
and because we have so much pressure in society that you can't be alone, that you can't be happy and alone, or you can't. Do you know what I mean? That you don't have a fulfilling life if you don't have children, and that is a problem.
Well, but
like
It's not a
society's
problem.
viewpoint needs to change. But no, because the thing is, if you choose to have a relationship and be in the scenario that you're talking about with full honesty, that's one thing. That's okay. Do you know what I mean? But if you're choosing not to, that should also be okay. You shouldn't be victimized or demonized because you choose something
It's not
different.
that it's not
That's
that
my
you're
point, really.
demonized though. Like
I
there-
think it
but,
is.
But because one, I see propaganda all the time talking about how like women over 40 are super happy. Like I see this all the time. Like, oh, it's okay to be alone, never settle, da 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 da. Like I see the opposite propaganda, honestly. And on top of that, like women 45 single and childless are the least happy demographic.
I just don't know how you prove that.
No,
to
no,
me.
because they survey people.
Like who?
They survey, and this is what I mean. Like
I know
like
what
they
you're
ta-
saying, but it just seems so general, and it just seems like I just like pulling.
we're
this
biologically
sideways out of the
programmed to
sky.
want children.
Yeah, I would.
We
Not
we're
everybody.
naturally
Not everybody.
You're right. Not everybody is, but the majority of us are. And typically, when I see a woman that doesn't want kids, like she somehow was hurt in the past, and that's why she doesn't.
Yeah,
Is
I
like
think
typically
you
what I
start
see.
out. I think every woman starts her life out wanting a family and
But I
kids,
think-
and then
I
at
think
some
that changes.
point, society gets in her head, or bad experiences get in her head, and that warps that.
The woman that says she doesn't want kids is just as much of an outlier as the man that says he doesn't want to cheat.
Bingo. Hold on.
Mic drop.
You're very funny.
No, I'm right. No, I'm absolutely right. and You have nothing to say to it. I'm right. You're wrong.
I
It's true.
don't agree with the fact that
No, it doesn't feel good. It's a fact.
It's not even a fact
about,
because
it's
I
not about how
speaking
it
from-
feels.
it's a fact.
It really isn't about how it feels. It's just like having a lived experience and having people around that have actually gone through this, and this is their experience, and them not being these mythical women that you think they are. Do you know what I mean?
So 65. You're gonna like you're 65.
Yeah.
And you're gonna live another 20, 30. Like let's say you live to 90. You're gonna be happy. No family. Nothing. Just by yourself with a career.
So you're saying no family, as in no kids of your own.
Yeah. No kids. No husband.
Okay, cool.
Deathbed
but that
by
doesn't mean
yourself.
you don't have friends. It doesn't mean that you don't have family around. It doesn't mean that
Godchildren,
you're not an
nieces and
aunt.
nephews.
Do you know what I mean? So there are other ways to find happiness, and I think that is okay. And I just don't like the fact that it's pushed that it's not okay, and then for women to be pushed into relationships that they're not happy in and they're not going to be fulfilled in, and like, do you know what I mean? I just think it just needs to be equal and level.
But I don't.
and free and
What
fair.
I'm not saying is it's not okay. I think people can, if you want to do that, if like people want to do that, do it. But what I think is dishonest is lying to women and telling them you're going to be happy without a husband and without a family at 65. Because if we take sample sizes, we survey women that are single, childless at 65 in different cities across the country, it comes with the same result. They're the least happy. And so you can say, oh, I don't believe the data, but like how much, like, I understand maybe you don't believe me, maybe like that's another thing, but like how much evidence do you need if people themselves are saying I am the least happy demographic when they are surveyed?
I would need to see the data.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a
Yeah.
comment on the data as well. I took this Yale University course on happiness,
Mhm.
and they did a study, and they found that your happiness level is gonna be up 2 years when you get married, and then it's gonna go down to the same level when you are single.
Well, honeymoon period, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
right.
So
Which is also biological.
Yes.
Yeah.
To make sure the kid makes it.
Yes.
Bingo.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's gonna keep
Interesting.
the pregnant woman alive and make sure the baby gets through infancy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 18 months.
And that's why they say also if you're dating a girl and then you don't have kids. So if you why a lot of relationships sort of split after about 2 years, 2-3 years, is because if you haven't produced a child, then sort of biologically, internally, the woman and the man probably are like, well, this
What's
is
the point?
yeah,
What's the point?
exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
Right.
There's nothing
Yeah.
bonding them together.
Yeah,
Other-
it's just
Right. In other mammals, like giraffes, they have the baby and the baby pops out and can walk.
Yeah.
But that's not like that with a human baby.
We're different.
Yeah, it's different.
That thing is useless
Yeah.
for 2 years. Can't even walk.
Well,
No, I mean, it's
in no way
defenseless.
independent. Yeah, defenseless. Yeah.
Is a better way of saying it.
I don't get what you guys are saying, because more people are in like long relationships and
Like
don't
getting
generally
engaged
get
after
married.
10
And
years.
yeah, it's like I don't see how the stats
because-
would stack up to this 2-year thing
How
when
many-
there
how
are
many- how
loads
many-
more people
hon-
living together
Honest question
for
though.
longer.
How many like long-term married couples do you know that are like, but that are super happy?
Who you should really be asking me is how many people do I know that are super happy?
That's not what I'm asking you. Though.
But that would be couples, it goes up and down. How many couples do I know that have been in long-term relationships? Quite a few.
But of those, how many of them are like? How many of them are as happy as I am?
So
Like-
I have 8 friends who have been in a relationship as long as me and my husband, 20 years.
Cool.
And
Congratulations, by the way. That's
Yeah,
fucking
That's
incredible.
actually
I cannot lie. I cannot believe this woman has a husband. Honestly. I'm not being I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm trying to see this from a logical standpoint. Many of the things I was hearing this woman say in other videos of this pre-game show thing, she was saying things that did not sound like she was in a long-term relationship. So for her to announce that she is actually married and for that long period it is somewhat of a concern how the children, if they have any, are being raised, what they are being taught. Because some of the things she's saying, unfortunately, does not work for a long-term relationship. It does not at all. So I'm very surprised at this. But okay, let's continue.
That's
and only
incredible.
one of them has just got divorced, and we all kind of got
I
together.
didn't say if they're divorced. I
No,
said
no, I'm
they
saying only, but all of us are as happy as the next human next door. It's like you go up and down,
No,
but we're
as happy as
happy.
Sterling Cooper, the happiest man.
But we're happy
always having
in
a good
our
time.
unions, or we
Yeah.
would get divorced.
No, and that's great.
And that's the
but-
thing.
but-
and so there's quite a few. If you're in that vortex, if
I
you're
don't-
not, you're
I-
going to see the opposite.
I don't think that people will immediately divorce if they're unhappy in a relationship.
Well, I think it would be stupid
I agree.
if
It
somebody
would be
came
stupid.
to me
It would be
and
stupid.
was like,
But
I'm really unhappy in my marriage, I want to get a divorce, I'd be like, no, that's not the step you take.
clever.
There are loads of
Correct.
things that you work on, because happiness goes up and down. It's a scale. It's just lots of things will make you happy.
You
What
sound
you
like-
really want is contentment, and you want to be secure,
Fulfillment.
and you want to have a super objective for your life.
Aha.
And if the person works with that and you can fulfill that, that's where you want to be, because happiness is fleeting.
You know
It's
the
a state.
best super objective is
Children.
kids.
They can't be the only thing, because
But it is
obviously
the
they're
best
autonomous
example.
and they grow up and they'll leave you.
Well, that is the best example of a super.
Yeah, well, it's
It's
one
at
of
least
them.
18 years.
It's one of them. It's one to have. It's one to have to keep you bonded to.
Yeah,
but
so
then
what
your
you do
super
together.
objective doesn't necessarily have to be having the child. It should really be more of the type of human that you actually want to co-create and actually build to be significant and productive in society, and that would be your super objective. It's not to just have the baby, because you could have the child
Oh,
and
God,
they're
yeah.
bloody hard work.
Make
and you don't
the
sleep.
child a killer. Make the child amazing. I agree with that.
That's it.
Totally
And that
agree
can
with
be
that.
that can be your objective for
Yeah.
20 years.
I know that's my-
and then
I know
maybe
that's
you
my
can,
objective.
you can change again, because we live so long now, and then you can be like, we've done what we set out to do for
lot of-
our 25 years,
Mhm.
and maybe me and you can just be brethren and we can move on again.
Or we redirect that energy again
That's it. If it
to
works,
to
Grandkids.
our kids,
yeah.
and that's called
And then we can be
family.
effective grandparents, and you
Bingo.
keep on going that way.
And that's called legacy
But
too.
the other, so
Those are the
we were
ones.
talking about women that are single and childless over a certain age. The other issue with that is that there's a large proportion of women that will be on the streets because they don't have the 2.5 million that they need to retire.
2.5 million.
Yeah, you need 2.5
What?
million to
In the
retire.
UK? Or
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a U.S. stat. I forget about that. I forget that the structure is different
What do you
here.
mean? I mean, we have pension. Where
Well,
is
but
this
the
figure?
idea is that, well, in the U.S., the idea is that a lot of the government handouts are going to run out because it's just not sustainable long
We
term.
kind of have that here too.
Yeah, so when the day that comes when they actually have to stop giving government handouts, there's a lot of women that are going to be on the streets because we own 80% of consumer debt. Yeah.
Goddamn.
Yeah, so
Yeah, including college debt.
yeah, and college debt is
Yeah.
the biggest. I mean, that's a U.S. issue here. I think the school is free, but
No,
it-
no, you still
it's
have
not.
that,
We
but
still
you don't
pay.
pay it. You don't pay it back unless you reach a certain level of income.
Yeah, you
Oh,
don't have to.
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's actually
And they
good.
capped out at 65 or something
Does
like
it?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
It's
does.
a 30-year debt.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Okay, yeah, I don't know all the
Just
laws.
play
No,
devil's
no, it's
just
fine.
play devil's advocate on that point a little bit though. Is should somebody therefore say, oh well, in case I end up on the street and I haven't got 2.5 million when I'm 65, I should therefore shack out with the dude that
I would.
And
I mean, shit.
Yeah, hey, but let's be completely clear. Everybody in this room would. Every one of you ladies would, because you'd have no choice.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was before all this bullshit
Oh, yeah, I was
started
just about to
happening.
say, so we'd just go back to the 50s where you're literally,
No,
literally up
1800s.
to
Like,
well, no, but up to, it wasn't
Yeah, like
that
way
long
back.
ago when you needed to be married to just have a bank account. So you'd just go, you'd be in your old age and you'd be like, okay, I'm going to shack up with Winston down the road, and so then I
what's wrong
can
with Winston?
survive.
Winston's great.
Is it Jack?
A little ramen
But
noodles and
also, does
Netflix
that
and might
not
have
go
sex.
counterproductive to the whole woman being an independent woman, and so that's why she hasn't set her sights out to be married? Would she not have been stacking her peas so she would be okay at 65? Probably better than other people in
Statistically,
marriages.
no. Like the average income of I don't know what it is here, but I know it's similar. So in the U.S., the average income of a woman is around $35,000. So she doesn't have enough money to stack her peas and be the independent woman. If you look at the numbers, like what percent of women are making six figures, it's not a very high amount.
Yeah.
It's less than 10.
I would like to
So-
see it in relation to single women who are over 40 and how much money they are earning, but in that 25 years, that how many of them would be the ones that would be homeless? I would say that it's probably not going to be that high. There may be some. I mean, whatever happens. But again, people aren't familyless. Like, they do have relatives, they do have siblings, there are other people that are in their family. I don't think there'll be that many people.
But the thing is, like, women are the biggest growing homeless population. So it's happening. You could say, like, oh, I don't think that many of them it'll happen to, but if 50% of women over 30 are single and childless, that's a very big percentage of the population.
Those are interesting ways of saying stats, though, because whenever you say growing, it's like when people say, like, mixed race children are the biggest growing ethnicity in the UK. They are still, like, literally,
So then you look-
0.2%. So growing doesn't mean that we should be like, oh, it's going to happen. It's just that maybe there's more than there was before.
I know there's more stats that I'm bringing to you. Like, I'm
Okay.
telling you that 50% of the population is single and childless. You need 2.5 million to retire, and on top of that, the average income of a woman is 35,000 per year, it's between 35 and 45. It's around there a year in the United States, and it's similar here. So, and on top of that, the biggest growing homeless population is single childless women. So it's like all of those numbers together show that that's not like the single modern women. That's not a good look for them. I don't even want to say look. It's not good outcomes.
Or the outcomes that were there before, when you were settling for a man and getting beaten up and were thoroughly unhappy and having loads of
Beaten
kids
up.
and you didn't have
Wait,
any
what?
choices to do
Beaten
that. So
up.
I'm just saying that
Beaten up.
we're doing sweeping statements, so I'm offering another counter to that.
No, I know. But like, what
Maybe
evidence
this is
do you
the
have
shift
that,
of reality.
But what evidence do you have that women were being beat? Like, do you think the majority of men were beating up women in the 1950s?
No, that
Okay.
wasn't the majority,
Okay.
but there was a large amount, and you also didn't have the means, the capacity, or the societal support to leave. So you stayed in relationships because
She just mentioned that it was a large amount, right? This is it's as if we said something along the lines of there's a large amount of women that don't care, that just running around doing nonsense, just sleeping around. They would argue this. But when they talk about the times that women were oppressed, which is a real time, nobody is denying this. You have to look at it in the context of why is it very easy for them to say it was a large amount, and not think to themselves maybe it was the minority that were going through this. Same as how it can be today. When we look at the proliferation, right? That's the correct way you Westerners say it. The proliferation of the online of women using online things, online videos to promote things that of a provocative nature, right? We have to ask ourselves: is this the majority that are doing this, or the minority? It is the minority. So there are things happening in this universe that are not good, but we have to try to be careful using statements such as a large amount. So a large amount of men were beaten, and what? When you say beating, now you talk as if, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but there are times when some people need to be disciplined, right? Now, some people will say, so you're saying that you are disciplining a grown person. Guys, it's not about, okay, so they are saying beating, so you think that every single time is just beating. No, sometimes discipline can come, yes, it can come in the form of a physical, which is, again, we are going to agree that is not good. But it can also come in the form of verbal, right? All she mentioned was they are getting beaten, which is just physical. But sometimes people have to be taught a lesson. This is why I used the term discipline, because some people have to be taught a lesson. The same way, right? You have to deal with, maybe you are dealing with somebody that is younger than you, or a subordinate, or younger sister, or children, right? Or younger brother or children. You have to make sure that they are being disciplined correctly, right? So when you say things like, being beaten, what she's saying is physical abuse. Some people will now say, I was being abused in general, when the abuse was somebody just disciplining, right, in a way that is not normal to you. They wasn't talking to me, or they were not giving me any attention. This is them displaying their form of discipline, and what they need to do to get things back in order. So when we use the word large amounts were being beaten, you have to be very careful. That is what I just wanted to say. You have to be very careful saying large amounts of them were being beaten, because yes, we know that this was happening. It's still happening to this day. But it's funny how we are not mentioning that the most physical abuse happening now, because they want to talk about back then, now are from a women and women relationship. So women that are dating each other, they are the ones that are essentially involved in physical abuse the most out of most relationships. So you have to be careful when we just say large amounts, because we can now say the large amounts of abuse, physical abuse going on is here, and is women on women nowadays. This type of, again, I want to just mention that this lady here, right, the way she's talking, I'll be very surprised if, which is understandable, guys. I don't want to talk as if many relationships are perfect. None of them is perfect. You see stuff, people talking like this, talking like that, posting stuff is all fake. The only time you will ever really see people is if you put camera in their house, all around their house, and then start realizing how people are in real life. People want to be acting this, acting that. The majority of people, I want to say, are just in the middle when it comes to how they feel about the relationship. They are in the middle. Nobody's, I have a great relationship, it's amazing, and I have a terrible one, it's abusive. And most people are just in the middle, right? And you can only see that by placing cameras in their, not only in their house, it needs to be 24-hour surveillance to see how these people are operating. Because things are not going to be perfect. But this lady here, I can tell that maybe her relationship is maybe slanted more towards the negative, is what I would say. Because, and I say this, I'm mentioning this because of how she's talking about men in general, right? The way she's talking about men, I can only assume is how she views her own. They'll now say, oh no, different with my man is this, and I respect him, whatever. Honestly, if you did, things that are coming out your mouth will not be coming out your mouth like this. It cannot be. It just cannot be. Like the way you are approaching the terminology you are using sounds as though this is probably how you view your own man, your own husband, not just your man. Apologies, your own husband. You have to be very careful how you know. But let's continue.
That's what you had to do. Now that's shifting now. So you don't have to be in a relationship. So maybe the offshoot of that is that some people are not going to be in a relationship. They would have lived their life. They would have spent their money how they were going to spend their money. And they may have loads of debt. But that could just be a consequence of freedom. Cool. Some people would decide, I want to be free, then have to be bonded to an average man.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I would also add to what you're saying is, yeah, maybe you're right, but the reason she is right is because Big Daddy government has stepped in and given women this other way. They're going to give them all these jobs. But what she's saying is, because they only make $35,000 a year, because they don't have the 2.5 million, because we are running out, the ball's about to drop on that.
What would you do if electromagnetic pulse, internet's gone, all computers are gone, we're back to the Stone Age?
Right.
What would you do then? I want to marry you and put a baby in you and raise a family with you. We've got this farmland, we're going to grow crops.
By the way, I can hunt.
By the way, I can shoot a gun and hunt a deer.
I'll smash and leave him. I'm too old. Go and find someone younger.
Okay, so it's a product of the times. Is this what Justin just said? This kind of nanny state, right? The government is most people are suckling on the teat of government in some way, shape, or form, producing money, and you're being parasitized. The taxes are we find ourselves in this really human. Being put in a combative situation rather than a complementary one. We're naturally complementary to each other.
If you were single and alone, you'd be homeless, and now there's no consequence for that because the government's bailing people out.
What I want to say about this, I think that it's very obvious that there is almost for average men. She's mentioning things like average this, average that. Why I have to settle for average when I can just blame lies? Am I saying that they cannot and they should not go for better? No, because this is naturally in their nature to go for better. This is speaking from listen. This is the same things happening all over the world in Africa here, happening honestly, right? So yes, they will always want better. But the problem we're not realizing right now is that naturally the average man and the average woman they're not operating on the same level. The average man would be the actions of the average woman. This is what they do. This is why it's very important for average women to know their level. Like, how do I put it now? When in performance, right? In performance, it is important for men, or let me say men in general. Men are judged from 0 to 100 when it comes to performance, right? Even I will go even higher. For a man to be able to compete and become, right, be able to acquire things, he cannot start from 0. It's from 20 to 100. That is how the average starts for a man. 20 to 100, right? 20 to 100. Walk in those parameters there. Start doing your thing there. For women, the average is 0, and then you can go to 100. Really? It will be 0 to 80. Acquire things, guys. When I say things, I'm talking about everything. To acquire, success, material things, but at the same time to acquire a person, a partner, right? You have to be operating between 0 to 80. You don't have to go to 100, because why? The guy that wants you will not want you to be 100 like him, because the power dynamic will be completely off. This is how 0 to 80, that is the average. A man is 20 to 100. It can be 0, but if it's 0, then let's be honest with you, to show capabilities, to show that you are you can do in this world, you can get. In order for you to do that,